Hello viewers, welcome to CEC lectures. Myself Dr. Preeti Jagwani from Department of Computer Science, Aribet College, University of Delhi. So in this ongoing series of ours which is based on hypertext markup language, we are presently onto the topic of forms, and we have seen most of the controls of the forms which can be placed inside the form element in order to fetch or in order to accept the data which is given by the user. So today's agenda will be, we will be completing whatever is left in the form, whatever controls are left in the form section, and then we will be moving to the frames. So we have covered many controls till this point. Now we are coming to the control which is in the form of button. Although we have seen couple of button controls as well, but here we will be completing it in a comprehensive manner. So basically there are various ways in HTML to create clickable buttons, and button is one of them. So this goes under the input tag by setting its type attribute to the button. So if we set the type attribute as text, we will be having one liner text to be input. If we set type attribute as password, that will be input will be taken as password. Now if we are going to set the type attribute to the button, we will be having clickable buttons on the form, but it is just not it is just not setting the type attribute to the button. This type attribute can take many values which are submit. This is going to create a button that automatically submits a form. This we have already seen, and on clicking the submit button, whatever values you have given, those all data or those all values will be taken up and bundled up, and it will be sent to the server, provided there is a script or there is a program to catch all these values residing onto the server. Then we have type is equals to reset. So this will create a button that automatically reset all the form controls to their initial values, and it is going to delete all the values which you have given or which you have input and have not we can say saved. So this is going to reset the whole form to their initial values. Then if we say type is equals to button, then this is going to create a button that is used to trigger a particular event or trigger a client side script when the user clicks that button. So for example, I have given type is equals to button, then there will be a clickable button, and whatever is going to happen on clicking that particular button, that should be written inside a client side script. And if we say input type is equals to image, then this is going to create a clickable button in the form of we can say a simple button with an image as the background of the button. So we have seen submit, then reset, then button, and then image. So let us try to see how are we going to use this in the code. So here we have the code doc type HTML, and within the body we have form. So within the form we have 4 input tags. So first it says input type is equals to submit, then there is a name, and then there is a value. So name is submit here, or we can say name is equals to B1, which is button 1 or something of that sort. Then we have some value corresponding to that. So value is something which will be a kind of caption which will be displayed onto the button. Then we have image type is equals to reset, name is equals to reset, value is equals to reset. Then we have input type is equals to button, name is equals to OK, value is equals to OK. So whatever is written inside the value, which is OK in the caps letter, will be displayed onto that particular button, and we need to control the events, or we need to control the clicking event of this particular button by using a client side script. and presently even if you are clicking this button, nothing will happen because we have not written any client side script for that. And then we have input type is equals to image, then a name, and remember here instead of value we are going to give the source of the image. So all these input tags, whether it is type submit or reset or button or image, are going to give me different buttons, one with the characteristics of the submit button, another one with the characteristics of the reset button, third one as the characteristics of the normal button for which we need to define the client side script, and the fourth one as the image button, we can say. So this was basically about the form controls, and we are done with all the form controls. So during the course of various lectures under the topic of forms, we have seen various input types, we have seen we can say radio buttons, we have seen check boxes, we have seen select boxes, we have seen text areas, and so on and so forth. So with the completion of this forms control, please allow me to start a different topic here, which is in the form which is basically known as frames. So frames, so many times while browsing the internet, you have seen the websites, or you have seen the web pages in the form that in the initial or in the starting there is a banner which is constant, and you are able to scroll the area which is under that particular banner, or it could be in the left side, that it is having a menu in the left side, and that left side menu is constant, and the whatever option you are clicking on that left side menu is going to open, or the corresponding page is going to open in the right hand section. So this is basically perfectly possible, and this is a very common scenario as far as we talk about this browsing thing. So this is basically done with the help of frames. So whatever example I was giving, so if you can see it very technically, what is happening here is basically that browser window is being divided into multiple sections, where each section is going to load a separate HTML document. So for example, here we have an kind of an menu, but on clicking the menu, whatever is being displayed on the right hand side section is a separate HTML document. On clicking the other window, we have the another HTML document here. So basically we can say HTML frames are an idea using which we can divide browser window into multiple sections, smaller and larger, where each section is capable of loading a separate HTML document. Now, a collection of frames in the browser window is known as a frame set. So for example, let's say we have three sections of frames within the browser window, three frames. So that collection of frames is known as frame set, and the window is divided into frames in a similar way. The way the tables are organized, that means in the form of rows and columns. So if I can divide the browser window into the form of rows, or I can divide the browser window into the form of columns, or even more, I can divide one row into various columns, or one column into various rows. As all these things we have explored, or all these structure we have explored when we talked about table. If you remember, let me help you recall, we have learnt row span and column span. Similarly here we can have row span and column span for the frames also, although the technique, or we can say the tag or the command is different, but the structure will be similar to the organization of the tables. That means we can organize our browser window, or we can divide our browser window into frames. These frames can be in the form of rows, or these frames can be in the form of columns, or we can have a combination of two. But this kind of, we can say, idea of frames is not very kind of encouraged to be used. because there are some disadvantages which are associated with the frames. And what are those disadvantages is nowadays it's very common to have a mobile device on which we can browse the internet, or on which we can surf the internet. These smaller screen devices are having their own problems. So these smaller devices cannot cope with the frames because their screen size is not big enough to be divided up. So a laptop or a normal screen of 14 to 15 inches is okay for division to be done into 3 sections or maybe 4 sections depending upon the requirement. But smaller screen devices are have different situations in order to cope up with these kinds of divisions. Then sometimes we can say this page will be displayed differently on different computers due to different screen resolutions. So some screens are having one resolution, another screen is having a different resolution. So because of these screen resolutions, it is not having a constant display kind of thing. Then browser's back button might not work as the user hope for that. That is also a problem with the frame. Then we can say there are still few browsers that do not support frame technology. So because of all these reasons, smaller screen devices not coping up with the frames, then not having a constant display whole throughout because of different screen resolutions, then inability of browser's back button, and non-compatibility of frame technology with few of the browser. All these are the reasons which discourage a user from using the frames. But still, for the purpose of learning, we will definitely explore the frames in quite detailed length. Let us try to see how we can create the frames. So in order to use the frames on a page, we are going to use the frame, or the we can say frame set tag instead of body tag. So what I am trying to say is, wherever you are going to use these frames, body tag will not be displayed over there. Then there is a frame set tag which defines how to divide the window into frames. There could be a row attribute of this frame set tags which defines the browser window into horizontal frame, and there is going to be a column attribute which is going to divide the window into vertical frame, and each frame is indicated by a frame tag, and it defines which document, HTML document, shall open into the frame. So in order to create the frames, we need to learn two very basic tags. One is frame set tag, which is used to have frames on the browser window. Another is the frame tag, which is going to define each and every individual frame. Now let us try to see how this is going to work. So here, if you can see on this screen, please notice that there is no body. We have HTML, then head, then there is a title, then head closed. After the head, we have a common habit of writing a body tag here. So please avoid it here. With body tag, frame set is not going to work. So even if you are going to combine it, frame set will not work in presence of body tag. So we are not going to write the body tag here. We have frame set columns is equals to 25%, 50% and another 25% followed by comma, and the total here of 25, 50 and 25 is the 100. So what this sentence is, or what this tag is saying? This tag is saying that this window is going to be divided into 3 sections column wise. That means 3 vertical section. One section will be total 25% of the whole window, then the middle section will be the 50% of the whole window, and rest will be 25% obvious. So it is advisable to have this total as 100%. Even if you don't have this total as 100%, the browser is going to make it on its compile a total on its own by making it close to 100%. So we have frame set columns is equals to 25%, 50% and 25%. So basically this is going to create a division of browser window in a vertical manner, half in between and 25%, 1/4 on the one side, 1/4 on the another side. And then we have frame src is equals to src here is source frame1.html, then frame src is equals to frame2.html and frame src is equals to frame3.html. Now see, and then there is frame set tag close. Now see what is happening here. We have divided our browser window into 3 sections, 25, 50 and 25. So in the first section, frame1.html will be displayed. In the section 2, the second source frame2.html will be displayed, and in the third section, which is of again 25%, frame3.html will be displayed. So we have given 3 sections, and within these 3 frames we have defined 3 sources for one frame 1, for section 2 frame 2, for section 3 frame3.html. Now what is this frame1.html, frame2.html and frame3.html? These are the HTML files which we have already kept ready, and these will be as I have not given the whole path in the source attribute, I am assuming that these HTML files are residing in the current folder. So first section will display the first source file, second section will display the second source file, and third section will display the third source file, and then there is frame set tag closed. So let us try to explore this one more time. Frame set columns equals to 25%, 50%, 25% followed by comma, separated by comma. Then frame src is equals to frame1.html, frame src is equals to frame2 and frame src is equals to frame3.html along with the frame set closed. Now first of all let us explore this frame1, frame2 and frame3. So frame1.html is actually, you can say, nothing, but there is a kind of we have written just one section which says this is the first frame. Then frame2.html is there, this is also says this is the second frame, and frame3.html is there which says this is the third frame. So here, in order to complete frame set, we have to have 4 files here. For this particular example, one file in order to one file is this which is creating the divisions and populating those divisions, and other 3 files are the simple HTML files. Although this is also an HTML file, other 3 HTML files are already created, and we have sections there. These created files will be displayed inside those frames. Now let us try to see what is going to be the output for this particular code. So here you have, although this is showing some color in the background, you can have some background color here. So you can see this is the first frame, then it is the next section and the third section. Let me try to explain here. So here the browser window, as you can see, is divided into 3 columns. One column, the first column is nearly 25% of the window. Then the second column is 50% of that the whole browser window, and the next column is also the third column is also kind of 25%. So in the first section, the frame1.html is being displayed. In the second section, frame2.html file is being displayed, and in the third section frame3.html file is being displayed, and this frame1, frame2 and frame3 file, all these three files are, we can say, we have already we have these files as ready files. Now this was the idea of division of the browser window into vertical section, which is basically, we can say, in the form of columns. Similarly, we can have rows here which says division of the frame of the browser window into various horizontal frames. So let us try to see the code corresponding to that. So here we doc type HTML, HTML head. Again, please notice the absence of body tag, and here we have set frame set rows is equals to, instead of columns we have rows, and the kind of, we can say, percentage distribution is quite up to you on the requirement. You can have 30 40 30, or you can have 25 75 25 here as well, or even you can have two frames within one section, one of 20%, another one of 80%. Here I have taken the example of 3 frames, but you can have 2 as well. Then frame src is equals to frame1.html, but within the frame tag and the src attribute, I have written name is equals to top name. As you understand, it is for the recognition purpose. Then the second frame is recognized with the help of the name main, which is for which the src source is frame2.html. That means this frame2.html will be displayed inside the frame which is occupying the second space, which is occupying the 40% space of your browser window. Then we have frame name is equals to bottom, whatever name you want to give, you can give that. src is equals to frame3.html. That means that frame3.html will be displayed inside this particular frame, which is position at the bottom horizontal wise we are going. So the bottom frame will host frame3.html, the middle frame will host frame2.html, and the top frame will host frame1.html. So earlier we have seen this example with columns, now this is with rows, and this frame1.html, frame2 and frame3 are having no difference. We will be allowing the same code for frame1, frame2 and frame3, and then this whole frame set and frame name is basically closed by the frame set tag, and as there is no body, no closure of the body as well, HTML closed. Now what kind of output this is going to give us is something of this sort. So you can see this is the first frame, which is the frame1.html is hosted inside the 30% top frame, then 40% second frame is witnessing the presence of frame2.html, and the third one, which is frame3.html, is having the presence of the third, which is frame3.html. So here we have seen the two examples. One is with the help of one is in the form of column separation, another one is in the form of row separation. So browser window divided into various columns, or browser window divided into various rows. But please remember, we can also have the combination of rows and columns as well. So we have very kind of specific attributes. So here is a list of attributes in which we can have margin width, margin height. So what then we have name we have also used. So if we want to allow the scrolling, it is yes, no, or if we want to make the scrolling as auto, we can have that. Source, we have already seen that particular HTML or that particular URL which is going to be displayed inside that particular frame section. So all these tag specific attributes we can have with the frame thing. Now what are the attributes which are available for the frame set tag? But before going into this, let me specify that this frame set tag is deprecated in HTML5. It is no more supported in HTML5. Earlier versions of HTML also support this. Now basically frame set tag, as I have already told you, is used to contain the group of frames which can be controlled and styled as a units, and the frame set elements also specifies the number of rows and the number of columns in the frame set, how much space corresponding to the total browser window they will occupy in a frame, that will be specified in the form of percentage. And as far as the attributes of this frame set tag is concerned, it is going to have the columns. Obviously it will be either in the form of percentage as we have seen, or it can be in the form of pixels as well, or if you want to divide it in the form of rows, you can have rows as the attribute. With in the upcoming lectures we will be seeing the combination of two, that is rows and columns, and we will be also seeing the target attribute and many more things to come. So let me summarize this lecture. In this lecture we have started from the button control of the forms. We have seen input type is equals to submit, type is equals to reset, type is equals to image, and type is equals to button. And then we started with the frames thing, and we have covered what is the concept of frames, which is basically division of browser window. So it could be column wise or it could be row wise, and we have seen examples of both the types, row wise as well as column wise. Here is a list of references which is being used for the preparation of this lecture. Hope you have enjoyed the lecture. Thank you.